Okay, next question. Which of these is most likely the U.S. government's aim in taxing imported goods? 1, to prevent the nascent industries from foreign competition. 2, to eliminate the reliance on foreign imports. 3, to negatively impact international trade. Or 4, to reduce demand for U.S. exports. Yeah, I really apologize for this mouse movement. I have no idea what's going on here. When we have taxation on imported goods, what we call that is a tariff, right? I think this is to spare you guys from my drawing with my mouse. We can look up what a tariff graph does. So tariff, international trade graph. And so this is a pretty, not advanced necessarily, but there's a lot of things going on in this graph. This is a great example right here. And so what we think about in terms of why we have tariffs really has to come from an understanding of both the, can I paste this? Yeah, here we go. It's come from an understanding of the two perspectives, the domestic economy and the world economy. Let me go back to the question, right? And so, in this case, let's say our domestic economy, it looks like is the United Kingdom, and then the world economy, we'll say, is the EU, the European Union. And so, what the thing is that the domestic economy and the world economy face different factors of production. They face different consumers, and so there's going to be differences between the domestic economy and the world economy. In the domestic economy, we might have an equilibrium given by the domestic supply plus the domestic demand, and that gives us our domestic price level of up here at what we would call equilibrium price, right? And yet, because we live in a globalized world, the price that we face is not given by the domestic economy. The price we face is given by the world economy. And the world economy might have a different equilibrium point, which results in a lower price given by P1. And so we can think of this as two scenarios. One, if the United Kingdom were to completely isolate itself from the rest of the world and trade with nobody, they would have equilibrium price where supply and demand intersect up here. However, in the real world, where they do engage on the world market and they do take the price level given by worldwide interactions of markets, then they're going to have to deal with a lower price at P1, which is much lower than the equilibrium price. And so what does that mean for the United Kingdom? Well, at this low price, the domestic suppliers in the United Kingdom only supply Q1 quantity of goods. And so that's the supply that is produced in the United Kingdom drops significantly, and producer surplus drops significantly, right? It used to be this giant triangle, now it's this tiny triangle. And second, we see that at a lower price, the consumers in the United Kingdom are going to want to buy a lot more than they used to. They used to want to buy the equilibrium quantity, now they want to buy Q4. And so this gap between Q1 and Q4 is made up by imports. We buy it from international countries who produce these goods and have extra goods because they can produce at low cost. And so Q1 quantity is still produced by domestic consumers, and then Q1 to Q4 quantity is produced by international producers. So that's what happens if we just let the free market reign on an international scale, assuming that this is what the domestic economy and the global economy looks like. And so who benefits here? Well, the consumers benefit tremendously because the prices have gone down and they can afford to buy these goods from other producers in international countries. And so their producer surplus has increased from this triangle over here to this giant triangle over here. Meanwhile, the losers are the domestic producers, right? The domestic producers used to produce this much producer surplus, now they have this much. And so the United Kingdom's government might look at the situation and say, we have an interest in not just promoting the surplus of consumers, but also protecting domestic producers from the impact of globalization. And so what they'll do then is they'll raise tariffs. And so tariffs effectively increase the price that the world price is paying. If the world price used to be P1, now it's P2. It's the world price plus the tariff amount. And so what this does is it expands the producer surplus segment by area 1, and it reduces the welfare loss by 2 and 4, and you have government tariff revenue given by area 3. And so this main goal of this tariff is to expand producer surplus by area 1 so that the domestic producers are still protected from globalization. So looking at the answer choices, we can see that answer choice 1 is the most adequate to explain this very complex model, right? The most likely reason the government aims in taxing imported goods is to prevent nascent industries from being basically suffering from foreign competition. And so we can take a look at the previous tutor's answer to check our answer. So the previous tutor also said 1, and it stated that trade barriers are government-imposed regulations on international trade. Trade barriers such as taxing imported goods or setting import quotas are employed to protect domestic industries, especially infant ones, from foreign competition. The primary aim of the U.S. government in taxing imported goods would be import substitution to promote domestic industries. A tax that is imposed on imports known as a tariff is a regulatory instrument to encourage domestic industries and also provide a source of income to the states. That's a good answer. Review the tariff graph for better understanding. Mark that as correct, and we can move on to the next question.